Let's play some Fiiish, right? Go blue. Oh, it's paused. Oh, I never... When you kill the fish and pause in this menu and then restart... Oh, okay, maybe... Hitting a weird edge case. We are still working on fish. And this here is exactly the screen we want to do today. Maybe including the fading out of the background, right? Because there's lots of stuff on the screen, like the obstacles, and when you die, they fade out, right? And we don't have that in the Unity version, and we don't have this screen, so let's do the screen. So top is coins total, and the coins you got fresh. The distance. The total distance, I believe. No, this is the total distance and this is the longest distance, right? So if the current distance is higher than the longest distance, it will count up from the current longest distance to the newest longest distance. And this will just count at the distance, right? So, okay, how do I? Right, so this 7 here counts here and here. And it doesn't count here because 121 meters. Let's see if we can beat that to see what's going on. Can we do 121 meters? Yes, we can. Oh, I'm looking forward to do UI in Unity. I wonder when this sound player got so buggy. Maybe using a deprecated API. So 112 meters are to beat, right? And yes, we collect all the coins on the way. Oh, that sound is so harsh. It could be a bit softer and nicer. So 130 meters, right? So this number should go up and this should go up, and you see this also goes up at the end, right? This matches this number. And the coins went up. So let's create that screen and see how much Unity hates us today, right? I think that's where we are, right? Oh, we wanted to do save and load settings and progress first. Nah, let's do UI, right? I mean, I'm confused by that unstable bitrate. Stable. No unstable events, so... Maybe the preview is wrong. So, do we do the results screen? I kind of mentally prepared for the results screen, but we can also do the save and load settings, right? We can also do the save and load settings. Let's do the save and load settings and progress. He said and regretted it instantly. Yeah, let's stick to the plan. So we need to save the player progress, right? And the player settings. And to be fully fair, the music settings should probably be Unity preferences, but I want your settings to be shareable between all 3 platforms, so we do it slightly different and just store it in the player, right? So this setting here, which is doing nothing right now, will be stored in the player. You can see it's doing nothing. Let's turn both of them off, stop the game, start the game, and they're both on again, right? So that's not working at all. So how do we get this working? For one, we need something to store this stuff in, right? And and I want to use a player object, and that's okay. Let's create a new script, right? Let's create a new script. Create C# script player. Right, and let's open this. Let's open this. Yes, let's open this. Writer, thank you. I need a haircut. But this is a scriptable object, right? Maybe it's not even a scriptable object. Maybe it's just a data container. Let's pretend it's a scriptable object for the moment, right? Yeah, we might get some stuff out of it. So that's what stores our player state, right? And I'm just gonna I think we did the same in the Rust version. Oh, this is the wrong folder. So if we look at the player RS, the player has the coins, the class distance, the total distance, the play count is music in it. I think we just take that as is. That doesn't sound too bad, right? And the is dirty, let's see if we need this. So let's not confuse the autocompletion. So we have a private u in 32, which is the coins, right? I'm just going to copy this line a few times because we have, this should be coins, right? This should be last distance. It should probably be last distance. So we have total distance. Maybe typing this is faster, right? We have best distance. We have the play count. We have is music enabled. And we have is sound enabled, right? And yeah, let's say private bool is dirty. And dirty basically means, do we need to save it because something has changed, right? And let's just create a constructor as well. And the constructor just creates some defaults, right? So coins equals 0. We could just say this is 0. This is 0. Y. Okay. Fair enough, right? And let's start with true for the moment. All right, and then we have, let's just do the music. So we have public enable music, right? Is music, so if is music enabled, we just return, right? We don't do anything. If it's already, otherwise we set this and say dirty is. That's not, right? So if this changed something, we change it. Public void. Right, and why? Oh, my bad. So this is enable music, right? And then we have disable music. And probably we could have a wrapper for a toggable bool with dirty. And here we do the opposite, right? If it's not enabled, if it's false already, we return. Otherwise, we set it to false and set it to dirty. And let's just copy this. Well, actually, let's have a third one that is public. Bool is music enabled, which just returns the member, right? And then we have enable sound. Is it sounds or sounds? Sound. All right. Very straightforward. Let's copy this while we have it. And rename this to sound and rename this to sound, right? That's part one. Have an object that owns all of this. So we don't have an instance of this, so probably I'm leaning towards taking the game, right? Because the game owns all of this. So we have a private player. And in configure for now, we just say player, new player, right? Okay. I'm not sure if we even need it to be a scriptable object, but and actually something like this, right? And let's ignore this for the moment, right? Let's just ignore this. So we have the player object now, and not C dollar C sharp. I mean, isn't it UN 32? System UN 32. Uppercase I. Oh, and actually we need to import the type, right? But we want this to be a UN32. Fair enough, right? And now it should compile again, I hope. It does compile again. There's some unreachable code. That's fine with us. So now how do we hook this up to the menu? It should be pretty straightforward, right? Because the UI, the in-game settings dialog already does something, right? It doesn't know about the player or the game, but I think we wire up the game to it. Right, so we have a private game. Let's make this public. Make this public, right? So this settings, waiting for loading bars again, we just drag our, where's our game? Where's our game is here. So we drag our game in here, right? And when we have our game, we can tell the game, hey, give people a way to get the... I'm not getting used to this double click, sorry. Where is the... So we could map it through, but I just want to hand out the game, right? So we have a public game get game, and that returns the... yeah, no, we want the player. I was confused why the autocomplete was acting so strangely. Right, this gives us a player, and then we can do something with the player in the in-game pause menu, right? Settings, and that is basically bool is music on equals state equals toggleable UI element state A, right? If it's A, it's on. If it's B, it's off. Or was it the other way around? Flies! I don't know where this fly is coming from. It's freezing outside. So, but basically what we can say now, and maybe we should do it through the game. Maybe we should do it through the game. Let's hook that up when we do the actual audio handling. It should probably not get the player, right? But what we can do is game.get player dot let's actually do this differently, right? Let's say switch state, and then say toggle UI element state A break. Right, this enables music. Can I please have some visual? Okay, then I will do it differently. What the hell is wrong with... Why? Semicolon. Oh, case, right? Switch case. My bad. Yeah, and in this case, we disable the music. We disable the music. And we probably got it the wrong way around, right? I'm gonna... Oh. I'm never gonna get used to this this weird uppercasing that C# expects. I'm never gonna. It doesn't make sense in my brain. I disable, enable, and then let's fix these real quick. Let's change these real quick. It looks raw. It just looks wrong from the signature. But it is what it is. So, and I actually want to debug.log enable music and disable music. Wow. Wow. I'm not sure what... I'm not gonna touch this for the moment. This looks too small here. But okay. We have the console. We clear the console. We press play. and hope that our music button is doing the right thing now, right? Let's check if our music button is doing the right thing. So disable music, enable music. Disable music, enable music. Oh, we did it the right way around. Right, and it is in the player now, so we hope. No, we don't hope. We know. We know. If we use exactly the same logic here, right? Well, exactly. Exactly the same thing here, but we say sound. Right? That doesn't look too bad. I'm not sure why it messed up the indentation here. I mean, readability, please. I could kind of accept it like this, but this is so much clearer what it's supposed to do. Not gonna fight with the editor much longer. So now we can set it, enable and disable the sound flag. It's not doing anything with sound since we don't have any sound, but it's not saving it, right? So we need a way to save and load the player, right? And we're gonna use a little trick here. We're gonna do the try load. We're gonna do the try load and the save. So we have a public bool try load, right? And that gets a string. It's a name, it's not a pass, right? And that returns true if it worked. Returns true. And then we have a public bool save, and there's no try. We expect this to save, right? And we don't care if it doesn't work. So public void, right? And we ignore the dirty flag for now. We just always save. We ignore the dirty flag completely for now. We just save. So what I want to do is step one, because we don't start with loading, right? Because we have nothing to load. And we could, Unity has this user prefs. Is it user pref? Prefs. Save. Save. What was the name? Settings. Unity user prefs. I think it was user prefs. Player prefs. Player prefs. Obviously, when I search for prefs, it's not finding that. So let's try player prefs. Really? I mean, oh, we searched in the manual and not in scripting. My bad. Right? Okay. Come on, partial search, please. So we could use player prefs, right? And just let Unity do the whole serialization, deserialization, and just say, hey, we want to save this int and this string and save it, right? We set the int to music on 0 or 1, and then save and load it. And that would just work. And we probably could also store our high scores there, but that would work, would abuse the system a bit. But the reason I don't want to do this is I want the save state to be transferable. So if you play the Unity game and then start the Godot game, it works. And then start v3, it works, right? So I want the same format for all of them. And we could use something like JSON, but that seems to be a bit wasteful, right? Because we're, I mean, this is 4 bytes each. So we have 20 bytes here. And this is 3 bits. So we have 21 bytes, right? And if you imagine this being formatted as JSON, it probably would be something like, okay, coins, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And this alone is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 17, 2 new lines, 18, 19 characters. 19 characters. So this alone is bigger. I mean, okay. Let's say you have a lot of coins, right? This is the same size as our whole data struct, and that just no. So we're gonna save it super compact, maybe with a magic header. So we need something to serialize it, right? And if you remember our zones, we already had something that kind of serialized stuff, right? We have a public bool serialize, and then a magic, and we probably want to do that. So our serializer only loads right now, but let's say we have this and a version, right? Let's just say this part here. We just steal it, right? Why I have to double click here, I have no idea, right? So this needs a serializer, obviously, right? This needs a serializer. And we're lying here, right? But load and save will need to create a serializer. All right, so where do I call the serialize from? I think it's a game manager. All right, so the serializer can load a file from a path. It cannot save to a path. So it needs to be created in write mode, which it currently doesn't support. So load mode is easy. Loading is easy. We just need to create the path and we have everything in place, right? But we want to do saving first. So we need to create a new serializer. So saving is basically var equals a new serializer, right? And that's it. A serializer is in write mode by default. We could pre-allocate a buffer. If we know how big the result is, we could pre-allocate a buffer, but to be honest, you're talking 21 bytes here, we don't need to over-optimize, right? And all we do then is we say if not serialize serializer, no. All right, then return and debug block warning, serialization failed. And this probably needs to be a ref, right? Don't worry about pointers, just put reference everywhere. Okay, because we don't want to create a copy, right? And this probably doesn't need to be public. This could be private for the moment, but we want to have it public later, right? And the magic, what do we do for the magic? I don't want to spoil, but okay, this is the magic, right? This is the magic we used before. So, and suddenly we're at 8 byte, but how do I do this in we did this in the zone, right? We had something similar. We had the exact expected chunk here, right? So we had the expected magic. Expected magic, and we just take, I don't know what this was, but let's use the same format, right? Let's use the same format. And then we also go over the whole, hey, we try each byte in the chunk, right? Maybe this is a bit overkill, but it's always good when you find these files later that right, so, and this sounds a bit weird, but we are reading and writing. We have a write mode. Where's expected magic? Let's just call this magic, right? And get rid of this down here. So for every byte in magic, right? For every byte in magic, we do copy it here. We serialize that. And if we're writing, we're actually writing B out to the file. And if we're reading, we're actually reading it in. And in both cases, we just say, hey, does it match, right? So in the write case, nothing happens, but we don't have a write case, right? So we need to touch the serializer. So the serializer needs a mode, right? So and the default for the mode is private mode. Yes, and I have old style there is mode.read. Default is, let's make the default actually write. Right, and when we load a file, I'm not sure where I just clicked. I'm not sure where I missed, probably here, right? I clicked on my name. Okay, so by default we're in write mode, but if we manage to open a file and loaded some data, right, then we say this dot mode is read mode. Right, it's pretty straightforward. I'm not sure. I'm not, let's not touch this for the moment, right? So all our things here, all our serializers need to be read-write aware now, right? We could, the other option is we could actually have a serializer interface. Maybe that's easier. What if we had a public class iSerializer, right? With some methods, all of these. And then our implementation wouldn't need to have the if, right? Then our implementation doesn't need the if, but that needs a bit of cleanup. So I'm not sure I want that. that is one way of doing it, right? And then we have a writing serializer and a reading serializer. And we could do that. I'm not sure how we did that in Rust. I don't even want to look at it. It's even outside of this file. So I want to change the interface, right? Do I? No, I don't. So for all of these, we need different behavior right now, right? So for example, and we're going to make it very, very explicit and ugly. Switch mode, right? Case mode write, break, and case mode read, break, right? And mode read is what we had before. This is mode read, right? But before I copy that up there, I take this block, and it's very ugly. It's very ugly, right? But we're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway, right? For all our serializers, we have to do the implementation, right? And now we move all the old blocks, and I'm not saying you should do it like this, and I'm probably saying we shouldn't do it like this, right? This is a read. Just highlighting ways of doing it, and there are different ways, right? And probably there should have been a block in there. Probably we're gonna get in trouble with scoping and C#, but so our old code lives in read, right? Our old code lives in read. And our default mode is write, but when we load file successfully, we set the mode to read, right? And maybe we even have a cert mode invalid. We're going to change the interface, right? If we broke anything by doing this, the new zone loading will be broken, right? So let's check if Unity is not crying foul. So we won't have any zones if we broke anything, right? And we do have a zone here. And we have multiple zones. So we didn't break the loading, right? Which is good. Not breaking the loading. But we don't have saving, and we're gonna go like boo 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 boo. So what we're gonna do is the serializer, right? We have a serialized bool. So this will work and this will work, right? This should just work if we implement serialize U8 and serialize U16 writing. So let's do that. Serialize U8 writing should be pretty straightforward, right? Because in the write mode, we need a buffer, right? We need a buffer of bytes. And I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to say private list of U8. Oh, what was U8? U8 was byte. Right, we have a list of bytes. We're not optimizing, right? We have a list of bytes that is empty. And if we're in write mode, maybe this should be read next byte. Right, so let's refactor this. Read next byte. Read next byte, and then we have a private, and here we diverge. Private void write next byte, right? And this just says This just says, what did we call it? Bytes. Okay, let's call it bytes, right? Let's call it actually buffer. Right? This just says buffer. And here we can optimize our hard out rate later, right? At value. This just writes 1 byte to the buffer. Right? And this makes the write mode here super easy because all we say is write next byte value, right? Done. I'm not sure why these are underlined. We're chugging along because I want this done. So if we're in write mode, we're just writing that byte. If we're in read mode, we're just reading the next byte. And yes, my cursor is this jerky. I guess we're using Unity again, so system is slow. And here we do the opposite, right? So we want to use short. And actually we want a byte here, right? Which is the low. And the low is basically the value. Yeah, right? We mask out the lower part here. And the byte high is the value shifted by 8. Right? And I hope that this does the conversion at the end and not before, because then the shift would be meaningless. And then we just say write next byte. And we write low first. And then we write next byte high. Right? What is your problem here? Okay. Okay. And this cast needs to be done after the shift, right? And here it comes. We didn't use braces, so we have conflicting variable names now, even if they are the same, right? And we need to fix that in both cases. I told you I will regret not putting this braces here, right? So let's stop it here because we can write U16, U8, we can write a U16, and that's all we need to serialize the player, right? We have a U16 and a U8 and a U16 here, and that's how far I want to get in step 1, right? We implement the others, I just copy and paste as we go, and we probably want to extract that, but that's the cleanup pass. So we still don't call save, right? When do we call save? And I would say we call save, player save, just for the moment. You shouldn't probably be doing this, but where is our settings? Wrong button, right? So when we toggle the sound, we just say game get player save. And this needs the player name, right? Maybe we're gonna remove even this name here, right? That's for multiplayer, multiple save slots. We don't really need that, and it makes things just a bit more ugly. And here we also call save, right? And what save does is it creates a serializer, it serializes, and that debug log serialized player. And let's see if we get that far. Let's see if we get that far, right? Let's see if it compiles, if we made any big mistakes. No. Let's clear this. Let's open this. And serialized player. So didn't arrow out, we don't know if it serialized correctly, right? So now the serializer, right? The writing serializer has this buffer, right? And what we need now is basically, I mean, it's pretty straightforward actually. So we have a public bool save file, right? And that gets the full pass. And then we have a using file stream open for writing. That looks good. We have the braces, right? And then we need to convert, we could just write the bytes, right? We could just do for each buffer B, right? We could do this and just say fs.write byte B. I mean, not ideal, but this should work, right? And then we just return true. I'm not sure if write byte write byte returns void, which is a bit sad. So we don't get a status if it actually worked, but I'm not sure if we want to lock the file and let's keep it simple. So this is all there is to it, right? This is all there is to it. Now we have the problem, where do we save the file, right? Where do we put this file? Right, we tell the serializer save file, and now we have to tell it where. And there are these predefined places on different platforms, and I'm pretty sure, was it user data? Unity user save pass. Persistent data pass. Read only. Contains this value where you can store data that we want to retain between runs. Public directory can directly and not by any updates. So local user profile. Yes, that looks good, right? So we do application, get persistence data parse. And that is our pass, right? So let's say pass equals not a fan of formatting it like this. And then we just say pass, right? And actually saving to $pass. And that's it. Let's see if this works. So I'm going to open this again, clear this, and saving to this folder, right? So to this folder. So let's do a quick hex dump. So the file doesn't exist. The directory doesn't exist. The folder doesn't exist. Wait, application support? Oh, quotes, right? So the file does exist. I just need to quote it because of the space here. So we have a OM Fiiish version 1. And this is just the magic, right? This is just the magic. So saving works. Now we want to load it, right? And where do we load it? I think we do a try load on startup, right? So on game, in configure, we do the try load, right? And the try load doesn't get a parameter for now. And try as a marker, this might fail, but we ignore the failure in this case, right? Because we don't care, because in this case we just have the defaults. So we're gonna cheat a bit, because we on a try load we don't want to override the existing version. We load into a temporary object and then assign over. Not sure, maybe this should be a static method, but here we say save yourself, so we say here try load yourself. So, but we're going to create a new serializer, but we're going to create it like for the zone, right? Actually, like here, right? We load file. So we load the file, right? And we actually do it debug.log fail to load player from $pass, right? And obviously the pass is actually, let's have a private string get safe pass. Right. And here we say just to have the same thing, right? So loading from. Old man talking to himself. Yeah, we're going to do a push on a new game over Christmas. But I want to finish this experiment first, so. So we do the load file, right? But load file only loads the data. It doesn't do any serialization, right? So if it's successful, we need to serialize it. Actually, I'm lazy a bit sometimes, as you know. Right, return false. And in this case, we still have the initial state, so that's fine. And this is a new player, right? This is a new player we create. And then we say player serialize. And I want to switch to the I like this syntax better, right? Because you don't accidentally mess it up. And if this worked, we just say this equals player. Can we cannot do this, right? We cannot overwrite in C#. I want to copy a sign here. C# operator equal can I do a do I have an assignment assign from object? Clonable. So what if try load? I don't want to make this static. Same, right? We could make it return a player, but I mean, we could say is music enabled equals player is music enabled, right? That works. But oh, come on. I double clicked here. And let me say is dirty equals false because we just loaded, right? And we could do it like this. Is there no assignment operator? Copy my class object. I mean, yes, I know what I want to do, but I want a standard assignment, right? Okay, let's not overthink this today because C# is gonna go bye-bye. Fair enough. So when we are successfully loading, we copy the loaded stuff and then say scriptable object destroy immediate player, right? Destroy immediate just says object. I mean, in this case, I'm still not sure if we even need this to be a scriptable object, right? This could just be a data object instead of this could just be a plain old class. But it's safe to destroy it because we created it here and we have full ownership. It shouldn't do anything in between. So the question is, will this work at all, right? Failed serializing player from. And this is loading the data and this is serializing, right? So, and on startup, if I press play, we should hit that code, right? Not a good idea without user interaction. Here's what I will do. I will cheat, right? So the player has this magic here, right? And let's just add 5 here. And that should break the magic on load, right? because we saved, remember, we saved the correct version here, the 4F, and we compare to 5.4 now. So that should trigger an error, a warning. Broken magic chunk. Right, as expected. The 4F is not expected, so let's fix this. But this also means if we fix the magic, and we're slowly getting there, Mühsam und Eichhörnchen und so. And I press play and I edit the script, well, Unity! So, by default, both are on, right? If I turn them both off, they should be saved. Well, they're not saved now. Okay, forget it. Right? Because this is just the magic and we still need to save the bools. Okay, save the bools. So I could just serialize it as a U8, right? But we will do something later, right? We have a ref bool value and we say this is value question mark 1 or 0, right? So we serialize this value y and this is a byte, right? Oh, come on, now you're trying. So if it's a true is a 1 and a false is a 0, right? That's in write mode. And in read mode, we read the byte, right? And value equals b equals 1. Exactly 1, because in the future we could say, hey, we just stored a bit, right? We have bits left and it gives us more opportunities. Also, we could have a verifier that saves a format file or DNA inside the file and saying, hey, the next thing is a byte. If somebody tries to load a bit from that, it's broken, right? So it's good to be a bit more explicit. And now in the player, and this will break, right? Because we have a version mismatch and we just don't load that data. It's just not there, right? So we're loading zeros, which is not good. In this case, it doesn't hurt us. But all we do in the serializer, so what we would do here normally is, right, do a version check and say, okay, if version is higher than the current version, then we do something, but we're just gonna go serializer, serialize bool, ref is music enabled and is sound enabled. And the nice thing is these two lines here, right? That's loading and saving. We don't have, oh, we have a save. We could, other classic problem is we have a save function and there we do save music, save sound. Then we have a load function and have load sound, load music, right? And then it's twisted. So with this, it's always in sync. And that's why the serializer is such a nice, nice nice tool. It's a good tool. And we're not going to go in versioning. So what will happen now on the load, right? On the load, we run out of data here. We read past the end. So the serializer on read next byte will say, hey, you passed the end, so I just give you zeros. And a 0 is a false, right? Is a false, so we get lucky here. And on the next save, these 2 bytes will be there. So if I press play now, if I press play and I want to hex dump this file, right? So still no changes. But if I go to this dialog now and toggle this, we should have an autosave, right? So we have these 2 zeros here. Why do we have 2 zeros here? Because we had 2 zeros there, right? We loaded 2 zeros. So this state does not reflect what was in the player. So we have to be careful. But if I toggle this back on, then I have the 1 here, right? So if I toggle both off, then I have the 2 zeros here. And if I toggle them both on, I have the 2 1s here, right? That is nice, but the initial state of the button is wrong. Right, so I said both are on. I quit the game. I start the game. And I say, yoo-hoo, that worked, both are on, right? And initial state. So I turn them both off. I stop the game. Right, and the save file is correct. So the save file here, the 2 zeros are correct. But if I press play, the player is out of sync with the dialog, right? This dialog does not reflect the player. So how do we make that happen? I mean, that's pretty easy, right? Because we have the settings dialog and we have a start and update. So we need to do something. We know how to toggle the, we need to know, we know what to do when we toggle it, right? But I think what we need is a public toggleable, and that is sound toggle, right? Why didn't that autocomplete? And we have a music toggle, right? And we're going to wire them up. We could have just used finding them by tag, but then we have the initialization order problem. So we just hardwire our panel and say, this is the music toggle button, right? And this is the sound toggle button. And initially, just once. Well, not true, right? Not true. Ah, come on, I'm going to do it the other way around. Same pattern. Right, set up and configure. So we need to do more, right? Because something else might toggle it. In this case, we know settings is the only place that changes it. So in configure, we say music toggle get, and I think the toggleable UI element doesn't have a getter, right? It has a go to, but it doesn't have a get state. So it has a, no. What is it? What is the initial state of this? We have the state, right? I think we need the state. So we have a private state, current state, right? Or just state, right? Just state. And then when we say, and in configure, we go to A, right? But we could just in go to A say state equals state A. And in go to B, I hope that's everything that changes the fate state, right? And then we have a getter. Then we have a getter under the update, public state, get state, that returns the state, right? And I just want to be very clear here. And A and B is a bit confusing here, but that's the way it is. So You do get state, right? And if that is toggle UI element state A, actually, we don't need this. We don't need any of this. We don't need the get state, right? You need to say game, or let's say var player equals game get player. And then if player is music enabled, and we say music toggle go to A, else music toggle go to B, right? Oh, and we do it instantly. We do it instantly, right? We could have a default parameter there, but oh. Right, and then we do the same for the sound. Same for the sound, right? So we take the sound toggle here and do sound enabled. So the thing is, if this is called before game configure is called, right? Before the try load, then the state will be wrong. But since we pass it in, I assume that the start of this is called before the dependency. I don't know. I mean, we could go to project settings and say, where was this? Script execution order, right? We could say game right, and we could put it here. Add scripts to the custom order and drag them to reorder. Scripts in the custom order can execute before or after the default time, and are executed from top to bottom. Oh, and here is fine, right? All other scripts execute at the default, before or after the default time. So technically, the in-game settings dialog, right, should always execute after the game. I don't like that we have to do it because it's implicit, but this makes it explicit and removes the chaos a bit. And we should use this sparingly, right? Oh, default time. Yeah, I don't want to. I think this is fine. In-game, ordered scripts are executed from top to bottom. So game is executed before the settings dialog, and that's what we want, right? So when we start up the settings dialog, we check the state and set the toggles accordingly, right? So let's see if that works. I don't know what the current state is. I mean, we have the save game, right? So both should be off. And both are on. Let's make them both on, right? Both should be on. Let's quit the game. And let's try again. Probably I just mixed up A and B. That doesn't make me happy. Oh, the problem is the toggleable UI element, right? And its configure says go to A. Can we get the name here? Now we have a bit of initialization order issues here. Let's clear this. Let's play. And yes, we need to get rid of all the warnings at some point. What's the time? We're still doing good. So, oh, I disabled all of these. So we have a go to A. Right? We have one go to A. Right? We have two go to A's. Okay. And go to A is correct because it's on, right? But the problem is if we turn it off now, both of them, we have the music toggled and disabled music. So I'm not sure why this filter is not working. So we see if we stop now, they're both off. And if I start now, we should see a go to B. We have a go to B. That is from the loaded file. And then a go to A, that is from its own initialization, right? So this here. All right, so we set this to undefined and say if state undefined, no, if it's undefined, only then, if nobody else changed us in between, then we do this, right? So if somebody else already set a state, our state will be defined, and then we don't need to do the initial state. So we're both off, right? So let's press play. It's this inconsistent random. So we toggle music button to B and don't do the toggle back. So let's see. And they're both off, right? So I turn them both on. I turn them both on. They're both on. And I probably should check combinations. I stop. I start. I expect them to be both on. And only one of them is on. So we turn them both off. Did we just fix it for one of them? They're both off now. Did I make a copy paste error? So we have a go to B for music and sound, right? And the pause play we ignore. So both should be off. Both are off. I turn them both on and start again. And it's annoying that this takes so long. And the second one is why is the second one off? They should act the same, right? They're both on in the config file. Did I make, I think I made a copy paste error somewhere, right? Is sound enabled? No. So I stop again. The saved state is correct. Both on, right? So the first one works correctly. It's sad that this iteration takes so long, but Unity. So the first one works correctly, right? Music works. The music button works. The sound button always starts off. Why? Because go to B is called, and go to B cannot be called from the toggle button initialization, right? It cannot be this, because this always goes to A. So somebody calls go to B, and that is the settings dialog decides to call go to B because sound is enabled returns false, right? So, yes, Unity. So just checking the file again. The saved state is true. Is our serialization wrong? Sound is disabled, right? Not was disabled, is disabled. I expect this trace when I start, right? Let's check for sound. So if I press play now, we get sound is disabled. Why do we get sound is disabled? I mean, then the behavior is correct, right? But why do we get sound is disabled? I mean, we can go into the player. So sound after deserialize. Right, and this is these auto completions is sound enabled to string is fine, right? Somewhere along the way we're breaking it, and I'm missing where. Probably I made a copy paste, right? Sound after deserialize is false. Sound after deserialize, it should be true. Why is it false? Debug log. I mean, yes, we edit it while playing, I know. So we read a 0. So Is there an actual 0 in the buffer, or did we read past the end? Now this is interesting. This is Unity. Couldn't read byte 324 of 326. Oh. Okay, so wait. It has the same problem for the zones. Couldn't read byte 11 of 12. Is our read next byte broken? So our length is 12, right? Our length is 12 and our position is 11. But that's not true because we're reading. I think this +1 here is wrong, right? Because that means after this read we are out of bounds, but we are actually still inside, and we never realized in the zones because that just means we trashed the last object in a zone. I think this is correct, right? Because we post increment here. We don't pre-increment, we post increment. And there's an equal here. So I'm pretty confident that we just had an off by 1. Oops, that happened. That didn't happen in a long time, but it does happen. So we don't get, so now we have the length 12, read 1, sound after the deserialize is true. So if I open this now, both are on, right? If I save and save, restart to load, both are off. And if I turn them back on and stop, I have the, and they're both on. Wow, that was an interesting find. I'm going to remove this noise, right? I'm going to remove this noise and I'm going to remove this noise, but I'm going to leave it in. The player the same. I'm going to leave it in for one commit, the usual one commit rule. And then the go to A and go to B. We're gonna, too much noise, but it's nice to have them in here, right? And we have storing of player state. And while we're at it, right? Let's check the old code real quick. I mean, and here you see how we do the version check, right? How we do the version check. And now it's not out in the wild, so we just ignore it, right? We just use the same file format. And I'm just gonna delete this one because I'm the only user in the world, so I don't need to handle a migration, right? I don't need to handle a migration. So in the serializer, no, in the player, and we're gonna cheat here on 2 fronts, right? We're gonna add this, and the version number we supported here was 3, right? So we have serialized version is 3, and the oldest supported version is also 3. So we just say, hey, we're not serializing version 1, we're serializing version 3, right? We only support, and if we ever change the format, we can change it, but that means we can load classic format, right? So serializer, serialize U32, ref coins. I'm not sure why. And then I just paste this a few times, right? So the next one is last distance. Not even sure why we serializing this, but we want to stay compatible, right? Total distance, best distance. And the play count. And if we ever update the version, we would just append fields here and say, if version is higher than this, then also serialize this part, right? Otherwise, default it. So obviously the U32 serializer, right, doesn't do write. So we basically do the same, right? We do byte A equals this, looks good. Byte B equals, yeah, byte C. Oh, nice. The auto-completion finally does something useful. I mean, it's basically D24, right? C16, B8, A, just mask it out, and the cast to byte will just mask it. And we just say write byte A, write byte B, write C, and write next byte D, right? We could put this, we could just do this instead, right? But I think this is, this increases the readability. I'm not sure why. Okay, because we don't have the braces. Brace yourself for braces that are. Can I just do this? Almost, right? So can I just do... Why? Okay, I'm just gonna suffer through the indent failure and do the braces manually. I mean, why would that work, right? Oh, we're still, no, we're not in play mode. That's an old message. And now we serialize the coins and stuff as well, which will come in handy with the next step. Which will come in handy with the next step. So, shall we give this a go? We'll implement yeah, that's fine, right? Just in case we forget, and fixed string, we just do the same, right? Just be a bit noisy if somebody uses this before we implement it as a reminder to self. So U32 is implemented, U16 is implemented, and U8 is implemented. We should have done a little bit of refactoring for the interface, but it works. Right, so one more thing, one more try. So if I press play now, right, it should default. It should default everything. It should default everything. The file doesn't exist if I do a hex dump now, right? The file doesn't exist. But as soon as I do something with it, it exists and has a ton of zeros in there, right? The version is 3 now. And this is the coins, last distance, total distance, and largest distance, and then the play count. Wow, the play count and the 2 bits for the audio. Nice. Well, let's see if it crashes on load. So let's disable them both. And stop and play. And That looks good. That looks good. We have no way to see your own best distance. There's no way to see your best. Maybe we should have a marker here that shows you your personal best. Improvements. Improvements. For now, we'll add the player to Git. I mean, JetBrains is pretty big and Unity is okay. I'm not sure why Firefox is acting up, and we still have memory, right? There's cached files, so swap is not used. I'm not sure what's going on. But, if I find the right window here, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. Let's update our done file. 15. Unity add player serialization. And that's always serialized, right? Maybe later high score and UUID and stuff, but that is this, right? We're serializing everything. We still need to change it, but that will come with a result screen. We're serializing it correctly, so I'm gonna add that here. And then we say season 1, episode 18, which means we're about 60 hours in, 30 each platform. I mean, a week for a game is not that bad. Add player serialization to... Here I have a problem, right? I want to write it with an S. And here it's written with a Z, so I'm gonna stick to the Z begrudging. Oh, excuse me. Don't take away my English certificate, please. I'm sorry. I know Z versus S is always. So we added the to-do. We create the instance and try the load on it. I'm not sure if it really needs to be a scriptable object or plain old class object. But let's use it like this. We fixed the execution order just in case. We added the toggles so we can set them up correctly in the beginning. When it's toggled, we actually disable it on the player. That will change. We're probably gonna remove this and just do it on the game, and the game will pass it through to the player. Same for sound. So let's stage this. We changed the execution order for the in-game settings dialog. We added, oh, let's remove that interface there, right? We're not really using it. So let's not muddy the waters. We might do, if we decide to go forward with the project in Unity, we will do a cleanup pass and fix this, but only if. You have the list of the data, and this is double. I mean, it's a few bytes. I don't care, right? If this was an embedded project, different story, but it isn't. So we have the default mode is read. We have the save file where we just write each byte. I mean, we could just get the list as a continuous memory segment and write that. I hope the file's operating systems buffers this, so we could have a buffered writer, or 12 bytes. 12 bytes. We have read next byte where we fixed the off by 1. I actually want to add this because it's important. Fix off by 1 when reading via serializer. That's an important fix. I mean, we got lucky. That could have cost us a ton of time down the road. We have a write next byte. We have write mode for the serializers, right? Not all of them. You have the log error for the F32 and for the fixed string, fair enough, right? So let's, the toggleable UI element has this undefined state, so we can handle the initialization a bit better. We can get the actual current state, which we didn't end up using, but might come in handy later. And then we have the execution order for the game as well. And I think, oh, we forgot the player meta. Let's push this. Wow. I'm gonna let you with this real quick because I need to grab something for my throat. We'll be back in a tick. Have some fun. Ooh. So technically, I think, so we did this in Unity and this in Unity, so we should go to Godot and do this and this in Godot. But I don't want to switch. Do I want to start with the results screen today? Do I want to start with the results screen today? Yes, because it helps us to see that the progress loading and saving works, right? So we're going to start with the results screen. And the results screen, just again for reference, right. It's this one, right? And ignore all the errors, handcrafted game engine. So this is the results screen, right? So we want the panel, we want the buttons here on the left, we want the text field. So probably looking at the time, let's get at least the dialog going and that it shows when you get killed and unshows when you respawn. Right? So let's do this. So I think we add a new panel here and call this, what did we call it? The results screen, right? Results screen. I want to check real quick. Result dialog screen. Fair enough, right? So, and why? Okay, so this is a fadeable with a canvas group. So I'm gonna create an empty here. Right, call it result screen. It's a result dialog. It's a dialog. A screen is made of multiple dialogues, and this is the result dialog, right? And we turn this on and off. So what we want is we want a fadeable UI element in a canvas group, right? So we add a canvas group and we add a fadeable UI element to it, right? So we can fade it in and out. And the actual, I'm not sure who owns that. I'm not sure who triggers that, right? You could say the game UI canvas. Not really. The result dialog could could follow the. I think we add a. I think we add a game state change, right? So the game fires a signal. The game fires a signal when state changes, right? And the result dialog, which doesn't have a script right now, but it will. So we're gonna go to scripts. I'm gonna say create script result dialog, right? And then we wait for half an hour. And then we just add that, right? No magic here. And then. So the toggleable UI element, right, has this Unity event with the state. I'm not sure if we need the system serializable. I'm gonna. Yeah, I think we need it. So what is the game? And here it gets a bit ugly, right? Oh, we can we just public Unity event. Let's call it state on state changed, right? The state doesn't exist currently. The state doesn't exist. I think the state is in the fish right now. It's where it's not belonging, right? I kind of want to move this here, right? So what if this is a public enum state, right? So we're doing some dirty tricks, right? Because the fish technically doesn't need to know its state, right? It's the game that knows the state and tells the fish what to do, but we're not doing it that way. So our one fish that we have is currently the owner. So we're gonna do a bit dirty, right? So the game has an on state change, right? And the game manager has an on state change, right? Just a bit of encapsulation. And this is game.state, right? We use the same state everywhere. And the fish has an on state changed, right? And this state here is gone. This state is gone because it's game.state, right? Can we actually say using game.state? I always forget the syntax. All right, then we don't have to change the state in here in the fish, and then we probably have to wait. Right, so the fish has an on-state change, and the okay, it's getting a bit ugly, but I don't want to refactor everything, right? So what we're going to do is the game manager gets basically public void on fish state changed, right? And that gets the new state. So in the fish, and this is too much wiring up. We shouldn't be doing like this, but I want this done, right? So the fish has an on state change, right? And we put the game manager in there with the function game manager on. Why don't we have the message here? We have the game manager script, right? And the game manager has an on fish state changed. So here we should have a wait. Fish. The fish has a game manager, and the game manager, why doesn't the game manager, right? The game manager script has a did you where did I which file is this? This is game manager, right? This is game manager. This is game manager. But if I go to edit script here, on fish state changed. So the fish in its on state changed. We put the game manager in, and the function we want is game manager. Because we have a compilation error, right? No? I mean, what is state here? Ah, signature mismatch. So, thanks for nothing, Unity. Game manager on fish state changed, right? So when the fish state changes, we tell the game manager. So when the fish state changes, whenever we change the state, right? Whenever we change the state, where's our state? So whenever we touch state, right? Whenever we change the state, probably we should have a set state, right? So we have a void set state. And this is this dot state equals state, right? And I'm going to rename this just so we find all the cases, right? A bit suicidal today. No, I just like the pain, right? Probably we should get rid of this as well, just because we're added, right? So this is game.state, and we're gonna can I just middle click drag? Yes, I can. And the getter here is fine, right? So same here and here. Gonna put this in my clipboard because, you know, a lazy coder is a good coder. I didn't right, we replace this access with this, and this access with this. Copy and pasting to avoid arrows, right? And this with swimming. And this with dying. And I think then we're done, and we probably messed this up somewhere, but we will see in the diff pretty clearly. So let's go to the next. This is this. I'm not sure if we should have just kept the using directive, but with state auto-completing to something completely unrelated, I'm rather... Oh. Right. We do this. One more error. So the nice thing is now we have that set state, right? And here we can say on state changed invoke state. Not sure why this is nullable. It should... Do we need to... Did I forget something? Should this be... This should be on state changed, right? Which now leads to that one arrow, but this is the one place where we access it. I'm not sure why it can be null. Let's see what happens, right? Because right now, okay, let's go to the game manager and say state changed to right. Let's see if we get those state changes. So we are waiting for respawn. I would have expected us to see go to swimming, and didn't we wire up that? So in Fiiish, on state changed, didn't we put the game manager in here and say, hey, game manager on Fiiish state change? Oh, maybe we touched the file. Maybe we touched the file and then things broke. Then the connection got ripped off. So we're waiting for respawn. We're going to swimming. We're going to swimming. All right. We're going to dying. And when going to dying is we're going to dead. We're going to waiting for respawn, and somewhere respawning here, right? Too much noise, but then we go to waiting for start, and then we go back to swimming. Well, that is nice, right? And now we basically do the same here. We go to the game and say on game manager state changed, right? And then we copy the same. It's a bit, we probably should have an event bus, but I don't want to wire up the game to the fish. Right? I don't want to wire up the game to the fish, so the game manager gets the signal. Right? On state changed, so here it just does an on state changed invoke state, and we pass it through, right? And then in the game we have this state change to state, and then in the game manager we have to wire up the game here to the game on state changed, right? So we have it all the way up, and now we do it one last time. As a result, dialog should trigger itself, right? So, so guess what? The game gets a signal, right? The game gets a signal that says on state changed. And yeah, we don't need the game.state here. Fair enough. And basically we say on state changed invoke state, right? And we remove this debug log here. Come on, refresh solution. You're fine, okay. And then we wire up the result dialog, right? So we probably should have copied the old version of that, but on game state changed. And right now I just want the debug debug.log. And we call this result dialog, right? Just to see we're getting it in the right place. And obviously we need to wire this up. It's a bit passing through the signal, but we want to hide the internals. So I think that's the best way, right? So the result dialog should now know at any given time what the state is. It could poll it, but that sounds, I probably would like to have something like an event bus, like a global event manager. Not sure yet, but that's what we're here to figure out, right? So the result dialog knows we're swimming, it knows we're dying, it knows we're dead, it knows we're respawning, and it knows we're swimming. Okay, so, but that means switch, state, game state, and we're only interested in two things, right? Actually, when we go to dying, we want to do something later, right? If we are in state dead, right? We don't want to do anything. And if we are in any other state, right? In any other state, we also want to do something later, right? Because in dying, we want to fade in. In dead, we don't want to do anything. We just want to update. And in any other case, we want to fade out, right? So what I want to do is private fadeable UI element, right? And we do the classic void setup, private void. We just do the void setup, right? Void setup and a void configure. I mean, yes, that auto completion was nice, but it goes here, right? And then we say, if we are dying, just for now, right? If we are dying, fadeable UI component fade in over 0.3 seconds, right? And in any other state, we just make sure we get the hell out, right? We could say if I'm playing, we fade out faster, but that's the two things I want, right? We can't see this yet. So if I press play, and the initial state will be wrong and all of that, but at least it shouldn't crash, right? I die. Oh, object reference not set to an... Wait. Can you go to the right file? So the fadeable UI element... Wait. If fadeable UI element is null, log, debug log, warning, right? So we do have a fadeable UI component on the result dialog and a fadeable UI element, right? But I get the error. Why is it not jumping in line 49, right? Why is it not jumping to the correct line? So we don't get the log. So we have a fadeable UI element, right? So why? Because I am dumb. I am so dumb, right? Maybe you should call your code actually. Me stupid. And now we don't get the error anymore and we get the fade in. Obviously, that element, you can see it here, right? If you look at result dialog, the alpha is 1 now. And then it fades out again. And when I die, it fades in again, right? So that is nice. Now we need to actually add something, right? And so I think we add a panel just like this. And the panel has the screen frame, right? And it has the other screen frame, but so why don't we just add a UI panel here? Right, and that panel has the textures, UI, the other screen frame here, right? And now here, why is the positioning of this one different than the positioning of this one, right? Okay, so this is center and this is lower left, so and then we set the position relative to 0, 0. And now it's overlaid, right? So let's check. In editor, it always looks a bit ugly, but so initial state is wrong, right? So it's faded out. I'm not sure why it's half faded in its initial state. So we're swimming, we're dying, it fades. Why does it fade half in? Oh, I know why it fades half in, because for some reason, this defaults to half faded in. I don't know why. I don't know why. Right, so it fades out when you start swimming. It fades in when you die and does something, and it fades out when you respawn. It doesn't do anything, right? But it's visible and invisible in the right moment. So that's a good start, right? And the rest is just putting the text in the right places. And before I do that, obviously I don't want it faded in at the start. So we'll just in the configure say fadeable UI element fade out fast, right? We know it will always be faded out, so we don't need to do any magic checking. Hey, did we start in a results screen state? Or we just make some assumptions. And that obviously didn't work. Why? Because we have the classic, where did we do this? We did this in the settings dialog, right? No, in the pause menu. We wait for one frame before we actually fade it out, because it will fade itself in, right? So we wait for one frame, and that means I enumerate. It's not it's I enumerator, right? Yeah. I was confused there and trusted the autocomplete. And obviously return here. So initialization order problems again, right? I wish it would just say I'm initializing from parent to child or from child to parent, but consistency. This leads to a very ugly plop out, right? So can we... I'm not sure if fadeable UI elements, right? Maybe they should default to faded out. I'm not sure yet. We can't fade it out at that point. How did we do that with the in-game settings? The in-game pause menu fades out the settings UI, settings dialog, right? That's ugly. That is ugly. I mean, can we live with? No, we can't. But looking at the time, I don't want to do more than 20 minutes, half an hour today. So I would say we live with this one frame glitch today. So technically, right, we have the problem that this fadeable UI element, if I call the fade out before I'm initialized, I'm going to miss it, right? So probably we should have a state that says, hey, this is a state, and if my state is already set in configure, I make it happen, right? But I don't want to touch that today. It's basically the same thing we did for the toggleable UI element, right? We had the undefined state and say, yeah, if you're undefined, we go to our default. But if somebody already said, hey, start like this, I mean, I could just go here, right? The easy way out would be just to do this. Okay, maybe just do this. All right, and if I press play now, it will be correct in the first frame, right? And if I die, it will fade in and it will fade out, but that makes working with it a bit clumsy. So, but there's a workaround. So I'm going to set this to 1 and we live with the 1 frame wrong pop-up for now while we work on it. All right, so let's focus on this panel. So we do the same. The thing is, we have 2 fields here, right? We have one with the current and one with the additional counter. And technically, this is a grid layout, but I'm not touching a grid layout in Unity UI. I'm not touching a grid layout, right? So I'm going to do rows with columns with fixed widths, right? Yeah. I'm going to create a UI, actually an empty, right? And call this vbox. Right, and add a component that calls vertical layout group. And maybe I'll make this a prefab, right? But what we actually want is an empty, which is an hbox, right? It has 2 values, right? It has the final value. Okay, just to show you what I mean. This will be a bit tough. Go on. It has the final value here, right? And here the delta value, which then gets updated over there, right? So it would move coins and meters from right to left. Total and current run. So I want to do that, and I probably, okay, let's just hack this together for the moment, right? So I want a UI text mesh pro, and I call this total, right? Total, and just, where's the text for that here, right? I'm just going to put total and create another UI text mesh pro and call this current, right? And call this current. And I actually, so the thing is, this H box here, right, needs an horizontal layout group. So this is kind of what I want, right? And I want this element is repeatable, right? I want to make this a UI prefab. With all its settings, we're gonna add a script later on, but For now, we just go to prefabs, UI, and now we know how to do it. We drag it over here, right? And we call it result row. It's a row in the results, right? We call it result row and drag it in here. And then we can call this result row coins result row, right? And then we drag another result row in here, under it, not in it, and call it. I don't know what the second line was, right? So we had, okay, we did that manually and didn't use our layout language. That probably was I just want the order of things, right? Probably coins first. So it's coins, it's distance, it's maximum distance and total distance. So it's coins, it's distance, right? It's maximum distance, and it's, nope. I'm not sure why that got resorted. It's maximum distance and total distance. Let me turn off the washing machine. It's beeping like crazy. I don't know why. The laundry was crying for help. So I want to lay this out, right? So this result row, and here's the question, how do we do this? I mean, we have this VBox, right? And I want a center alignment, but I want it to be here, right? Usually I would use a margin box, but okay, this is a bit cumbersome, but let's say I want it here and I want it. Can I just mouse wheel? No. Okay, let's say minus 120 and 200, just to have a starting value, right? And then actually the result row here, the result row, maybe we should have done that before, right? But I want that middle and right aligned. And the current I also want middle and right aligned. Just because the font size, let's make that 48 and change the font to our font, right? The nice thing is they all change now. So same here, 48, our font. Right, and now we see the spacing doesn't work. I couldn't measure it in the image, but I'm just gonna eyeball it. So this is a result row. I'm not sure why the boxes are. I'm a bit scared of making this center, right? So it should not matter. So this is both of these should be wider, right? So what if I make this 300 and this also 300? Can I select them both and just make that 280? 260 looks goodish, right? We could check the layout of the original, but that's fine with me, and this should change them all, right? So all of them are... Oh, we only can touch the one we currently are in, right? Obviously, the height doesn't fit, so I'm gonna actually go into one of them and set the height of both of them. Let's say 64. 64 is not enough. 72. 84. 99. 128. 160. Come on. That looks about right. I mean, the problem is now we start too late, right? So we need to move this V-box. We need to move this up a bit. Actually, let's align the first one at the bottom of this. So I'm looking at this T here, and they should touch the bottom, right? So I'm going to go in there again. That's too much, right? Wait. Why? How? Oh, is the parent ignoring the... Why is... So, okay, we could just do this, right? We could just put this here and put this here. Child is upper left, so I'm wondering... So this is the panel, right? There's no padding. I don't get... So this is a text box, right? This is the text box here. But the result row, so one row, right? And I cannot change this because it's controlled by the panel, right? So I need to add a layout element. And then I can still not change these, right? But I can say, no? What? Let's ignore these for the moment, right? I'm only interested in this box here. Why can't I change this box? Why? Who's setting this? That must be set by the parent, right? But we... I mean, I clicked height here, right? My bad, but so I cannot change this, right? I can change this. Can I? So this is 7. Let's say 70, right? 70. 70 is wrong. And let's say all of these are 70, right? Then what the? Why is... I can't change this, right? Because... But... This should change something for the children, right? I mean, this is a vertical layout group. So this works, right? So this is a vertical layout group. Why is this not controlled by the parent? Right? I want this VBox here. I mean, I can drag it. I get that. Nice. But shouldn't it drag its child element? It drags its child elements with it, right? But where does the height of the child element come from, right? Oh, here. From outside? But that's not... Shouldn't it be matching this height here? So if I make this bigger now, this should... Oh, that changes, right? So if I make this 200, that changes the box height. That's what I want, right? I mean, technically, I probably want it the other way around. So I'm going to go here, and I will... Okay, here's what we're going to do. Just for the moment, I'm going to change these two back to top align, right? Top align. So I can see the top edge, right? So top align. So now I'm going to move the top so that the T here, T touches the white line, right? And then I'm going to go in here. I'm not sure why it changed my view. And then I'm going to edit these two. 100. Set them to 100. It's top aligned, right? So it should... What the hell is going on? Why is this 97? Okay, So this box here, right? This box here. This box here. This box is 144, right? No, this box here is 166, roughly. Wait. I want the size of this box, please. What's the size of the... Okay, so let's top left align this again. All right. The panel is fine. I just care about this. So one height is 117, right? Two is 1 is 114. Okay, so that 330, 335, let's say 111, right? So these boxes are not equally sized. Okay, so these lines are not on a grid. Whew. 144, right? So I go in here and say I want 144, right? No, 111. And now it's roughly all aligned at the top, right? So we can go the middle alignment again. And then we... Why? Oh, wait. Why? Oh, because I'm changing. What's broken now, Unity? What is broken now? What did just happen? Why are you all on the... What's going on? Unity hiccups? This is looking okay, right? I want to see what happens in different screen sizes. So let's die. And why? Oh, this kind is okay, right? I have given up mentally on the Unity UI system because it's just, I mean, you see what's going on, right? It looks good. You press play. And the layout is wrong until you change the layout. What? Why? 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 What is my mistake? So we should not have a content size fitter here, it says. Okay, let's remove the content size fitter. That's what they said, right? Why do some of them have child force expand and some not? So this is a vertical layout group, right? This here has a height and a width, and that fits. So why is this element, right, this in the same position? Because this has a height of 0. How do I set the height of this? Why do I have to set it twice? Why do I have to set it twice? Does not... Either the child knows its size or the parent, but then one of the fields should be grayed out, right? So, okay, this is the look we wanted after fiddling with Unity. I'm going to do a quick hack to show the actual correct values there. Right, and looks ugly. The font just looks really bad here. But we're scaling, right? So that's fair enough. Let's see how it looks on device. So we have these things, right? So what I want to expose, and that's why I'm going to add a script on the result row, right? What I want to expose, I just want a simple setter for the value and not manually wire up the different subcomponents, right? Because, okay, so what I want is a script, UI script, well, a script, right? Create new script, result row, right? And then here in the prefab, I want to add to the main component, right? I want to add the result row. And then if I go to result row, I can have a public actually I'm gonna have a public void set total, right? And that is string total. And then I have a public void set current. That is a string current, which are both currently not used, but that means in the, come on, in the result dialog, I can wire up the rows, right? So we have these 4 rows. So in the result dialog, I have public result row coin result row, right? And then I have a distance result row. Was it best distance? Best distance and total distance, right? I have a, I think it's actually Rider that's messing up my, I'm not sure why the highlights on these 3 is different, but okay. So that means the panel here, right, can have the coins result row, distance result row, maximum distance result row. We're wiring up far too much. Every time I drag something in a slot, something is wrong. All right. But that means when we go into state fade in, right, here we do setup from player. Running a bit short on time, so we're going to streamline this. So basically we can say, let's say coin result row, right? Coin result row set current to 55. 2.5 and total to, I don't know, 611, right? Just to show my point here, right? So come on. Probably we should have more complex composable components, but that's good enough for me. So we still have the plop out. So if I die, it does not work because so the result row, right? Let's do a void setup as usual and a void configure. I was hoping at some point it will learn to do this, right? And this is, where did we have this? In the hut? Yeah. I just wanted to steal this line. Basically, we have a public total label, right? And we have a current label. We could have found them in the setup, or we just wire them up, right? So in here, 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 right? The result row just has a total and a current label. And since it's the prefab, that works for all of them, right? And then if we do set total, we say total label equals total and current label equals current. And no animation, no nothing. It's just my laundry is doing the weird thing again. So, and now we can set the numbers here, right? So, but I want the real numbers. I want the real numbers, right? So how do we get the real numbers? So the result dialog knows that the game state changed, right? And it knows nothing else. So we wire up the game. We could have another message that conveys the state, right? But so what if this knows the game, right? And it's probably gonna wreck all my other connections now. This is a pretty common thing I've seen with Unity, that you end up in this endless junk. So I'm just gonna do it like this, right? So var game manager equals game.get game. The game has a get game manager, right? It has a get player. Right, and then the result dialog can get the game manager. And then from the game manager knows the coins and distance, right? And we have getters for that. So we have coins and current distance in meters, right? So we say var coins equals game manager coins and var distance, and we're just gonna call it distance here, right? Game manager current distance in meters, and it has not been reset yet, otherwise we would be in trouble, right? Coin set current dollar. Right, and we don't want to do any animation. Right, so we set this to 0. We don't have the state. We could get the player and ask the player for the total, but then we have to add that. And so distance result row is basically, and this is pre-animation, right? This is pre-animation. We will do this differently, right? Let's do it like this. And then the best distance result row, we empty it out, and the current we also empty out, right? Just for now, because we'll need to do some animation there, and I have some funky ideas, and we're gonna do that on Thursday. But for now, I just want to see if I get at all compiler errors have to be fixed. Line 54. Semicolon expected. Come on! Autocompletion fail. Rainbow ball fail. Script compilation fail. Takes forever fail. So I swim, I collect a few coins, right? I have 1 coin, I have some coins, I have some coins, and then I hit the wall, and then I have 15 coins and 23 meters. And then what should happen is what we will do next time. The 15 here will move over here. So this will count up, and this will count down. And then same here. This will count down, this will count up, and then same longest distance. Since longest distance is 0 meters, this will count up and be equal to this. And then total distance will also count up. When this counts down, it basically adds to all 3 of these, right? Let's actually do, come on. And meters is totally arbitrary, right? I can feel my mouse move again, which is weird. This setup of the UI took far too long, but that's... I'm not gonna say it. I will not say it! So we swim, 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 and die. I'm not sure if I would want this and this aligned. But that's gonna get ugly, right? So I could just write an update loop. We could just remember the coins, right? I don't want to do this because it's going in the wrong direction. But basically, what if we had a private insert to coins target, right? And a private 32. Actually, what if we made this a float? Right? What if this is a float? And this is a bit cheating, right? But what if we said coins target equals coins and coins current equals 0.0, right? And then we have another private that is, I don't want to do it like this. Coin speed equals, I don't know, let's say 1 coin per second, right? 1 coin per second. And in the update we say, and hacking this in because of time, right? If coins target is smaller than, no, if coins current is smaller than coins target, right? If we're not there yet, wait, then coins, that is correct, right? And then bar coins equals mass f floor coins current, right? And then we say coins result row set total 2 coins. All this needs to be a string, right? And then initially we set it to 0. And this is wrong, right? This should be set to something that is, wait. Yeah, maybe this should give us a uint instead of an int, but I don't want to change that now. So I'm just going to cast this. And this is not what I want to do. This is just one way of how you could do it, right? So we collect a few coins. I mean, good that we still have the coin rain there, right? And then this slowly counts up at 1 coin per second. So if we have a gazillion coins, I mean, or just 100, this will take 3 minutes to count up, right? So we don't want that. We want a fixed time of how many coins there are, and actually I want ease in and ease out. So it starts slow, then accelerates super fast, and then starts slow again. So we basically have a timeline of how we scrub it, where we are in it, and that defines. But this is just taking too long, right? This doesn't feel like we could just increase the coin speed, but then it needs to be dynamic, right? It needs to be dynamic. But I think making this screen, and this is a reward screen, right? And reward screens should always be like, yes. Now let's collect a ton of coins. I thought I would get more coins from that initial rain, but so if I die now, it goes like, and it's still not fast enough, right? But if I make it much faster, it just goes like, bam, if I have a little coins, and then it also feels wrong, right? So I would say we define a time, 3 seconds, and say, it doesn't matter if you have 1 coin or a million, it takes 3 seconds. Maybe it scales a little, so I don't know. Maybe it takes 3 seconds per 1 second per digit. So 100 coins takes 3 seconds, 1,000 coins 4 seconds, 10,000 coins 5 seconds, and so on. But not today. Not today. Let's Unity start adding result dialog, right? And we called it result dialog, so let's call it dialog here. Screen was just the wrong name. I'm pretty sure I forgot to add a file, right? Oh, we actually forgot to add 2 files. So S1E18 start adding result dialog to Unity. And that's in progress. That's not done, right? So we did this. It added more glyphs to the font, which is weird because it pre-calcs all of them anyway, I hope. We changed the scene. Yes, we removed the state from the fish to the game. It should have never been in the game. But that's how it started, game jam style. That's a lot of game.state changes in the fish and then the set state. So we have one place to invoke the thing, the signal, the event, sorry, and switch this dot state to set state, more game.state. That looks good. We have the on state changed and moved the state into the game. We get the game manager and we wire up that signal. Same here, new signal. We change the sprite mesh from the frame because Unity just messes it up. I have a git ignore that says ignore dsstore. I'm not sure why that's not triggering. We have the result prefab, right? And the result row matter and the dialog matter. And that means as always, everything we do on stream is open. So I'm going to paste this in the chat, which the overlay is still not working. I'm not sure if I even bother repairing it. And with that, maybe you should have moved it to 0 here. Maybe find a better way for the initialization. With that, I'm going to play some Fiiish and say on Thursday we're going to make this result dialog fancy. Oh, coins, more coins. Better magnet. We really need to add the shop to the game so you can collect range upgrades and stuff. Thanks for being here. I'm Antti and I'm blocking my own view. Stay safe and see you on Thursday.